is also mainly going to be an auditory thing, so listen to it as if you were listening to a podcast or something like that. I endeavour to make it work on kind of as many levels as I can do, and I am looking to get this tested in future to make sure that it's not going to be a barrier to anyone's success. But with that said, I'll move on. Obviously, we've had some wonderful poets, but we've had that discussion which kind of grounds us, and poetry works in a liminal space, and I'm going to be discovering that. This set today has been brought to you by the word journey and the letter that I never sent you. I'm going to ask, before we go into any visuals or anything like this, I'm going to ask a favor of all of you. You can join in or you can refuse to, as is entirely your choosing. We're going to do a little exercise, and it's purely to center us, calibrate us, and ensure we know exactly where we are. Okay, so first, I just want to ask, has any one of you ever been hurt by a poem? Has anyone ever been hurt or offended by a poem or called out in a poem? If so, you may be entitled to compensation, but that's not what this is about. Although I do have a great number for a solicitor. What I want to ask you is if you ever found yourself in a poem that you wrote, but you didn't realize it was yourself there. You can write your answers down. Have you ever found yourself in someone else's poem years after the fact, and then you looked back and realized that that poem was about you all the time, but those things are never right or wrong anymore, they just kind of were? If so, draw a picture of how that made you feel. Show you're working. Have you ever found yourself in someone's poem from years ago that didn't really reflect really well on who you are now, and looking back you kind of realize, okay, maybe I was that kind of asshole that did that or whatever, but you're not that person anymore, but now you've drawn a picture, and that picture accurately depicts who you're going to be in the future. Have you ever heard a poem that accurately predicts your future? Show you're working. Don't look at anyone else's answers. Have you ever heard a poem that predicted your future, but was written by someone else who never came across you, and by the time you had heard the poem, it was actually the past, and in anything, it wasn't very good at being prophetic? Okay, we'll move on from that because we're not getting anywhere. What I want you to do is I want you to think. The purpose of liminal time is everything is a religion. I found religion and hope through this. Whether that makes you my worshippers or my church, I'll leave that up to you. It's open to discussion, really. But what I want you to do before we enter anything further is this. Close your eyes, or if you had them closed, open them. Or it doesn't really matter either way. All I'm going to ask you to do is use your imagination. I want you to picture a lake, any lake that you can imagine. You got that in your head? Are there mountains around it? If there are mountains around it, draw them down on a piece of paper. If there aren't mountains around it, then draw them in your head. They need to be there. It's important that the mountains are there. So you've got the lake and hopefully the mountains. I want you to picture the water, and it's as clear as anything can be, okay? Like you can see all the way down to the bottom, apart from in the places where it's a little bit too deep and the water, the light doesn't go that far enough, but it's clear as you like, as far down as you go. I want you to picture a boat. Can you picture a boat? You all know what a boat is, right? Doesn't matter what kind of boat, really, but the point is I want you in the boat and then in the middle of the lake. So if, for example, you're standing at the shore before this all happens and you're going into the lake, I want you to row your boat to the center of the lake. I want you to row your boat or sail your boat, or, you know, if you've gone really extra, I want you to yacht your boat into the middle of the lake, and I want you to look down into the water, all of you. I want you to hold that image in your mind. Remember, we're talking about connection and liminal space, and right now has been a time where I've never felt so unconnected to everyone, and I miss you all so much. But the thing to remember is, in your head is a lake. In my head is a lake. We're all in boats. I want you to close your eyes or open them in your imagination, whichever one works and is the opposite for you. The point is to twist this. Wherever you are, I want you to know that there's a boat just next to you. That's mine. I'm not there, but I'm as there as I can be. We're all in this boat, and I think we might just make it through this. Remember, these lakes connect us when we come. This is the end of the exercise. Show you're working. Tell your friends. Let them know what you thought about this. Cool. Okay. Don't know if that was a poem or an extended bit. I'm working off Steph Mo's way of being meta about things. The purpose is to get you in that weird headspace for poetry. For the rest of the set, there is some content warnings. I'll try to ensure that I cover each content warning with each poem. By and large, I am trying to move away from being incredibly sad about stuff. But it's not for me to tell you what's going to trigger you. So there is going to be some discussions on grief. There are going to be some discussions on addiction, references to self-harm, suicidal ideation, and all the above, because this is just my lived experience and kind of all I know. Also, again, in case you weren't there at the beginning, there is going to be some potentially flashing images. Now, this is a brand new thing that I'm trying. I hope you like it. Here's a picture of a big strange face. It's not my face. But hopefully this should go a little bit like this. This next poem is a poem that none of you will have heard before, apart from maybe Miriam, whose help has been incredibly invaluable, helping me work on something at the minute. It's got a new title, which is Mothman Jackalopes, Yesterday, and Other Cryptids. And it goes a bit like this. Sometimes if I walk fast enough, the pavement cannot evidence my ever having been there. Walking fast is an allergic reaction to your own nauseous entrapment. The road echoes everything that it was told. I have not told the road my story yet. Getting lost is a sympathetic ear. Being found is a benign tongue that wants to know the measure of you. If my shadow has a taste, I haven't learnt it. Imagine this, you're telling me the story of how your parents forgave you for your mistake. You are reading the same 3 lines in your book as you tell this story. I know this because I can see your road turn back on itself 3 times. There are blackbirds on your drink, unripened from hedgerows, and petals in your hair from sitting in the shade. Your mouth is a purple bridge of history, a monument to spit off of into the river. You are retelling me the way you saw your parents live without everyone, to everyone. You don't see failing like this as a bad thing. It is necessary to befit a hungry narrative, that sometimes it serves a purpose to serve no purpose. You are reassuring me that I am still here, even after everything is gone. You are a giant sign that says turn left with nothing left. I dream of not leaving. I am sitting on my grandfather's lap. He has stopped playing his game to pull coins lost in my ear. In a minute, he will spin a story about a journey that will stay with me for a quarter century at least. I will tell this story to anyone who will ask. No one will ever ask, but that does not mean that I was not told. I never learned the rules of this game. When he dies, I find that my mouth is a seam of riches, inherited language. There is a fly in the tower. It notes that the flight or freedom is a matter of perspective. The diocese makes diagonal plans for sailing, and the stable hands have left become shadows with purple mouths. There is a royal disregard for moving. There are petals strewn as peace signs at the river's mouth. 2 armies stop. They are telling the story of war. They take it in turns. They say it doesn't matter, or it is not a bad thing for you to have to die. You go first. This is half yours after all. I am running. As far as the pavement is concerned, today doesn't exist for only a hot brief minute, and nor do I. I'm retelling myself the same 3 lines of that blackberry story of why you left. My grandpa bakes caramel shortcakes. He calls them stidges. My side split binary. My river stomach becomes grandfather Portkeys in a flood. I am hungry for a narrative. This is mostly a lie. I never make mistakes as well as I used to. Thanks. That was actually a part of, some of you may have read it if any of you are part of Rainer Graffer's Poetry in the Time of Being Alone, which is a wonderful prompt group that we have. What I'm working on is that strangeness of journeys, and as an alcoholic, a lot of journeys kind of come to an end or stop for a while and don't seem to start again, and it's a really difficult part to get your head around. And one of the things that I've lost along the way are friends, and sometimes friends to death. You know, it happens, people die, we are not immortal, unfortunately. Not yet anyway, working on it, doing my best. But I think losing friends to a process anything other than death is like really hard to understand thing for humans. It doesn't make sense. Our community is not kind of built around unknowing, and this is a poem about that. Obviously, I can't tell you what you make of this poem, so that's why the trigger warnings are in place. If you take away from this something personal, then you're more than welcome to. But this is not about friends dying. This is about not being friends. It's called I'm the Door You Weren't Supposed to Open. And it goes a bit like this. I admit freely that I am a place we both used to be. There are small towns that live and die inside of us that I believe will serve as compromises to our history here in the ruins of Octoberville. We are two homes to have escaped from remembering one another, haunted by accents we can't shift to remind us the permanence is for others, even if we can't help but empathize. I don't speak for myself when I say that growing up in failures uniforms makes being found a change. Is it any surprise our language sounds like missing when all we knew is lost? Is it any surprise that we speak comfortable silences better than we explain ourselves? On the other hand, when it got to the part in our friendship where we had to introduce each other to our former selves, I didn't have it in me to admit that I knew you did not like any of who I was, but you stuck with me regardless, and I never got to thank you for that. Even if we never talk again, our epitaphs will read, two gluttons for exit survived by distance, and what a legacy that is to leave behind. A perpetual longing, even if it is only a longing for one and sure. We could disinherit the wind together if you like. Take our bodies full of everyone that we used to be and make believe like we don't want no part of the sky and its plans for us, but I don't think we should say fuck it so ineloquently. Not when we have spent so long protesting how to be so politely in the first place. Maybe we're not friends to be had. Maybe we're just something to have happened to someone. But when I start thinking at these speeds, I want to write a letter to everyone I ever knew, whoever believed in me, starting, dear whoever, you were proved right again. I care more about the had than the having, if only because the past tense is so easy to write in. Perhaps a God without followers is just a friend left behind. I'm in the autumn of my second chances, and I think forgiveness gets taken for granted. I think redemption has a very finite limit, but then I think I started with everything and I still have all of it. Maybe this doesn't adequately explain anything. Maybe this will spare your mouth the ignominy of saying my name, even in passing. Maybe this proves that even horizons are compromised by endings. Maybe the answers as to why won't matter. Maybe we just work better in hindsight. For whatever reason, I want to apologize that I have had more experience in being left and in leaving than you, and to thank you for making this as difficult as it needed to be. Thanks. There's a poem. Not gone, I just chucked my book across. You're hearing me okay? Cool. That's great. Lovely. I don't know how much of this thing you can see, because my phone screen is very small, but then my laptop's very big, so I know what images are getting projected on me. Some of it's weird, but most of it's kind of tame. I just thought it would be an interesting way of exploring being alone. Journeys. We're all on a journey. Where we're going, we don't need roads, nor maps, nor bedtimes, nor gods, nor masters, but my God, we could do with a hug, am I right? Yeah. This is a brand new one. Again, with Tonic being this wonderful place to kind of experiment with stuff and not getting a crack at the apple of prompts and stuff like this, which is such a wonderful part and such an innovative, cool part to be a part of. I just wanted to write something new. I obviously, as with anyone, I didn't write anything new, but then I found that I had something that I had never performed before, and that technically counts. I don't think anyone's read it either. It's called My First is in Addict, but not in Damage. Again, content warning for addiction and wanting to die, I guess. Call me a fucking millennial with a death wish. Haven't killed me yet. My first is an addict, but not in damage. Pronounce the distance in exile. Hostility is a reckless luxury. The hospitality of fate will make a headstone of you yet. I have started studies in captivity. Call cages what they are and remove yourself from them. The imprisonment of him being. No peace is not brokered by the moral composure of a carefully curated crime scene. I'm black and blue in chalk outlines. Maybe we can discover some unspace to exist in. I have unacknowledged my role in destruction. My hands know the burden of etymological arguments, the ontology of wasting, the naming of broken things just to call them broken. There is a power in naming. So call yourself failed just to give you an excuse to give up. Roads home are a finite resource, a discreet imposition on the arrogance of longing, foregoing my right to an unbiased jury. I'll beg shackles of etiquette, mea culpa. My knees that have brought me here have betrayed me without even trying. Thanks. By my reckoning, is that should be about 17 minutes, I believe, if only because I'm looking at when the projection went on. So I'm going to round off with one poem because I don't want to take up, I realize like the benefit of this is we're all at home and none of us are going to get caught anywhere where it's going to be difficult to do anything, but also I kind of want to join in the chat, I want to smoke, and also want to wrap this up because otherwise I will ramble forever. Again, thank you so much for having me. Add mini bits. You can follow me on all the social medias and everything like that, on Instagram and Twitter, on Facebook, on Tinder, on Grindr, on Christian Meet, on Muslim Mingle, Mustachio Me, that's a new one, I'm working on it. It's basically just me matching with anyone who wants to match with me, so it's just a picture of me saying, will you fucking date me? You can also follow me in real life. Due to having a housemate who I actually really like, I'm not going to give you my address because that leads to some concerns over security. But if you find me, you can follow me, and obviously keep it at social distance, but it'd be real nice to see me. I have some stuff coming out soon. I have a video from Word of Mouth London, which is really cool. It's got loads of views and I'd love it to get more. And you can go and look at that and share that. I'm doing a kind of, I've recorded a set for Loud and Queer Extravaganza, which is coming out tomorrow. So in case this isn't enough, you got more. And yeah, I think it's Chris Tarrant and Maya, fucking hell, for having me. It's such a, I like, Tonic has one of the best venues in Bristol. So once we're back, and if Horts is back open again, we're going to sit there on the comfy sofas and we are going to cuddle for so long. But journeys, that was where we started on this. This is where we must come to an end. I am hot and sweaty in my bedroom because I have closed my windows so that everyone doesn't hear me. And yeah, thank you for sharing a journey with me. That's real kind of you. I don't think anyone has told you how nice it is to have someone holding your hand, but we're all in these boats, remember, they're not sinking. That is a real psychological experiment, by the way. It wasn't just a kind of poetry bit gone awry. It's a really interesting thing that is explored in a book, which I will tell you about if you want to talk about it. And it's just about the concept of conceptual things and how language exists, which I thought would be a good one. But this is not a new poem anymore, but it's one that I haven't actually had much chance to do. It is called My Name is Dispute. This is what I recorded with Word of Mouth London. Shout out to them, shout out to Tonic, shout out to you for watching. You're beautiful. This is a poem about alcoholism. So again, this is not the end of my journey. This is just the current space of where my journey is, and it's talking about my relationship or lack thereof with the AA, who work for some people, but for me, I think they're a cult. I've relied on myself and the church of poetry, like you guys, for as long as I remember. So thank you so much for being a part of my religion. It means a lot to me. This is My Name is Dispute. My name is actually Sam, but this is a poem. It goes like this. I don't tell you how often I think of setting myself on fire. Once a week. Me and the other arsonists who think ourselves firefighters sit in a circle and clutch the warmth of coffee against our weakness. We do not talk of the cold, of kindling, or our real names. Instead, we hold up excuses like purpose that we may never drink again. We listen to one another. We talk. And at first I tell them that I know exactly how it feels when a bottle calls you God. It is only when I listen to them that I learn my name means two gods having a conversation. Sam, God. Joshua, heard by God. Grudgings to exist and continue. One man says how his means that he was the boy who ate what was given to him. He learned to starve himself by eating himself, and how to become an argument. My name means choke. My name means dispute. My name means because, and these definitions are proof of how people like us are prone to decay, how failure is a common result of escapism, how for all my bravado, I am no end. I'm just a beginning that doesn't know the start is over yet. When all you have to inherit from your name is its violent history, you will understand why we seek out so hard to find sobriquets, how you must always call your last name before you make it, and how I call myself burden, how I am surrender, swallowed in the absence of sustenance, repeat. I am surrender, swallowed in the absence of sustenance, repeat. I am surrender, swallowed in the absence of sustenance. And we do not talk of how we know each other better than we know our own real names. We do not talk of how, if this don't kill me, then nothing will. Because my name means I am immortal. Because my name means I will live forever in the hope of becoming a memory, because there will never be a time when I don't pray for the end. And if I could be nearly half the man I thought I was, it would have to suffice. My name is the paradoxes caused between who I was and who I am. My name is everyone that I loved went the wrong way because they followed me, and I never taught them the trick of not stepping on the cracks in paving slabs or remembering to wake up before they hit the ground. The most frequently heard name called out on the way down is so far so good, and I can tell you from experience anyone's name can mean falling. So tell people who've just lost themselves to just get better at finding. You will understand why tomorrow is a promise I can't make. So today will have to suffice. I am no end. I am no end. I'm just a beginning that doesn't know what the next step is yet. I am a prologue to better days that don't end just because I do. My name is Saint of absent dialogues and God of unhealed wounds. 4 years is a long time spent to remain nameless. But it is better than a decade spent without deserving ones. My name is, this doesn't feel like a resolution, because it isn't one. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, you're wonderful. I love you all, and I'm really sweaty because this is bright as shit. You're lovely, thank you.